Viewers, you asked and we delivered. We have with us Abhijit Iyer-Mitra to talk about Bajwa. Bajwa, the man who got a 3-year extension, and now the Supreme Court of Pakistan has said that his extension can only be for 6 months and essentially kick the can down the road so that something else might happen between this time and 6 months from now. To know more about this, what led up to this, we've had a whiff of this in our previous hangout. Our guest today will basically tell us everything about what we need to know about Pakistan. Welcome, Abhijit Iyer-Mitra. Abhijit, welcome to PGurus channel.
Jai Shri Ram, always a pleasure to be here.
So, Abhijit, take it away. Tell us how many corps commanders are there. I think we talked about some numbers. I'm still unclear, 4, 6, something like that. How many corps commanders are there? What was happening up the totem pole of succession in the generals to head up the COAS position? When this guy decided to sit there for 3 years, what happened? And how is this thing playing out? Looks like there is an equivalent of our M.L. Sharma in the Supreme Court of Pakistan, who, does something what Mr. M.L. Sharma does in India's Supreme Court. So take it all away.
No. This isn't M.L. Sharma. Let's be very, very clear about this. The Chief Justice of Pakistan wouldn't have had the guts to do this had he not had the army back. Now, normally the thing is, if you notice, the maximum an army man lasts in power in Pakistan is 11 years. All right. It's a hard and fast rule. Ayub Khan thought he'd last forever and ever, 11 years. Ziaul Haq thought he would last forever and ever. On the 11th year, he got bombed. Parvez Musharraf thought he could just last it out. Again, 11th year maximum. See, the thing that we have to understand about the Pakistan Army top leadership, I'm talking about brigadier and above,
right,
is that at that point, they're actually, and you might actually laugh about this, but they're genuinely secular. They don't care about religion, about anything like that. They just care. They operate like a mafia, and it's like the Cosa Nostra. Cosa Nostra means our business, So the only thing they care about is the our business part of it, that we should control everything and la-di-da. So what happens in this entire setup is, remember, there were murmurs even when Asif Bajwa became the chief of army staff, yes, about his Qadiani, his Ahmadi
connections,
connections, right? His I think his daughter or son is married to, the in-laws are Qadianis, or he's married into a Qadiani family, something like that. Now, these rumors are very normal, right? Every chief that comes has some kind of rumors floated about him. But it's never taken past a certain stage. Here, what's happened is Asif Bajwa would have actually gotten away. And the number of corps commanders is completely irrelevant, because remember, they are, in a sense, a democratic setup, a meritocratic democratic setup, who control how the officer corps in general feel. Now, Ismay, what happens is that the big setback to Asif Bajwa, he was given a 3-year extension. It would have happened. Now, remember, the challenge to it was filed only a few weeks back, 3-4 weeks back.
Right.
Why did that happen? Why was it not filed the moment the extension was announced?
That was something that I wanted to ask you. So you plucked the question out of my mouth.
Right. So think about it. It had nothing to do with the extension per se, as it did with Kashmir. This Article 370, the biggest casualty of Article 370 we thought was Imran Khan, it's actually turning out to be General Asif Bajwa. Because what happens is that their policy has been the same for the last 72 years. Now, suddenly they're facing this complete change. All right. They actually believe that demographic change is going to happen in the northern districts, not in the Jammu area, but in the Kashmir area. And they've seen Ladakh being separated. So Ladakh was, anyway, there was no terrorism in Ladakh per se.
But they were resettling a lot of Kashmiri Muslims there.
Not really. Those are Kargilis Muslims. They're Nurbak Shias and Shias. And see, the thing was, you couldn't, they will never accept Kashmiri Muslims in Ladakh. Okay. Right? The Shias there have this thing. The Shias, in fact, took over the role of what Hindus were perceived to be the informers of the army. And the Shias took on that role.
Okay.
So given a choice between India and Sunni majoritarianism, the Shia will choose India any day, every day. They would they would any day vote for Amit Shah over Farooq Abdullah. Make no mistake about it. They will pose and posture in public, saying a lot of different things. In private, they will. It's not even a choice. I mean, look at the number of Shia bodies that came out in favor of Narendra Modi openly in the rest of India. You know,
Yes.
the Sayyidina of the Dawoodi Bohras and things like that. He came out and said, vote for Modi. I mean,
Right.
how much more
Of a validation do you need?
open
Yes.
do you...
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So there's a whole this thing, which is why, of course, you know, even Narendra Modi will go very soft on Iran. In spite of Trump and in spite of America, he doesn't want to, because the Jafaris, the 12er sect, which are concentrated in Lucknow and around those areas, he will not want to alienate them because they're an extremely important tool and a wedge against the Sunnis of UP. See, so there's a huge electoral calculus at play there as well, which we have to remember. But anyway, let's go back to Pakistan. So in Pakistan, what happens is that the corps commanders, the army in general, are stunned by this move. They don't know what to do. They still don't know what to do. And the clearest example of this is they've actually sent a wife basher. They've removed Maliha Lodi, who, in spite of her so-called spectacular performance and whatnot, and, masterful manipulation of the press. And she was very good at manipulating the press, you know, because divorcee, modern woman who smokes, who drinks, la-di-da. These are the kind of things you need to get in. Remember, the New York Times' editorial board is extremely superficial. If you have a Muslim woman who munches on ham and smokes cigarettes and swigs of whiskey, they'll be like, oh my God, you're the next liberal goddess around. It doesn't matter, you represent a horrible military dictatorship that's killing its own people in Balochistan. Because basically the New York Times editorial board are a bunch of high society aunties, right? Aunties and uncles. So this is the kind of thing that happens out there. She managed it not bad. All right, we have to remember that. As far as the press goes, the governments were all on our side. The press almost entirely was on Pakistan's side. And in spite of that, she's removed and she's replaced by who? A wife basher. Well, not a wife basher, a girlfriend basher, who's the new Pakistani ambassador to the UN. Why do you think that is? These are all scapegoats being made. Then what happens is all these, this Maulana Fazlur Rahman's rallies against Imran Khan. Why? He hasn't done anything to the army to upset the status quo. The agreement was, unlike Nawaz Sharif or Benazir Bhutto, who became too big for their boots. He never became too big for his boots. He was an idiot who understood the limitations of his very small mind. So he stayed within, to use that Hindi phrase, wo hamesha apni auqat mein raha. He had that deal that you will make all the policies, I will simply implement it. That policy, I mean, he hasn't changed anything. Where has he gone up against the army? So why are they allowing this fellow to come hold all these rallies against him and so on and so forth? In a way, you have to look at the way these business military, it's called the mill-bus system, military business system, where the military operates as a business mafia. The other places it used to happen was Indonesia, but Egypt is another, Egypt and Turkey. Turkey, of course, was destroyed by Erdogan, the military's part, the military business part. Egypt continues. And you remember, in Egypt, when the protests against Hosni Mubarak started, the military supported the protesters.
Yes, they did.
Kind of, semi. But then, when the protests against President Morsi started, they were openly supporting them as well. Even though he was a democratically elected president who wasn't allowed to complete his term and all of that in Tahrir Square.
Right.
So this is the way militaries function. For them, these so-called staged public protests, they're the way you control a popularly elected, even though Imran Khan is a selected candidate. For all intents and purposes, he's been elected, right? So we've got to respect that.
Yes.
So Maliha Lodi removed, Imran Khan under severe political pressure, trying to get scapegoated. And the fault, the corps commanders aren't, they're not going to be sated by scapegoats. Scapegoats are for the public that believes that, you know, somebody needs to be held to account. And here's the problem. The Pakistani public have been told that we've won the international diplomacy battle. Kashmir has been successfully internationalized, when in fact everybody knows it hasn't. Therefore, Maliha has to go. Therefore, Imran Khan has to be weakened, and ultimately they will get rid of him. But here's the point. All of this is fine, but here the commander has failed. the chief of army staff is seen as the main failure, because in spite of all the intel that was building up, almost 2 months of intel, you remember I tweeted that 35A, I didn't know 370 was going to go, but I thought 35A was going to go on the very next day of the swearing in.
Right.
And Anand Ranganathan also tweeted about it at the same time. Delhi was talking about nothing other than 370 going for those initial 2 months till August. So where was Pakistani intelligence feeding up? They didn't even know what was coming till it finally came. So he is seen as somebody incompetent. They want to get rid of him. So this person, whoever it was that filed that case, was clearly set up by the corps commanders. And the CJI, well, you know the CJIs of Pakistan. You know exactly what their caliber is. They've always been military puppets in that sense. The very fact that this man felt that he could pass a judgment like this tells you that he had military backing. And it's very clear that Bajwa, from all my friends in Pakistan I'm hearing, is that Bajwa has lost the confidence of the military. It's time for him to go. But remember, they have left a window of opportunity, a window of reconciliation open. Because the order says that the notification wasn't issued properly. So now all they really realistically need to do is issue the notification properly.
Or to have it signed by the president of Pakistan.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then here's the problem. What if his tenure expires before they issue the notification? See, why hasn't Imran Khan reissued the notification? That's another big question.
So we're getting into hair-splitting things here. So clearly there's a deliberate goof up, and clearly Mr. Bajwa didn't see through that deliberate goof up, and he didn't make sure that he got an ironclad 3-year extension. And that just goes to show that there is a complete breakdown of administration in Pakistan, and perhaps I hate to say this, and we always come back to this, and you say, no, they're not going to split. But I have a feeling that if things are so bad, something is going to give. What is that?
Nothing's going to give. It's cyclic. I stand by my prediction. Pakistan will not break up. We tend to underestimate the strength of Pakistan as a country. They've managed to hold on to the idea of Pakistan much better than Indians have managed to. Well, urban elite Indians who hobnob internationally. India produces better citizens of the world than we do citizens of India, unfortunately. And they've managed to hold on to that idea of Pakistan much
better. Are you telling me
but
something?
Here's the thing. Yeah, I am. Especially your brothers in Columbia and Harvard and all of that, Indian brothers who then keep foul-mouthing India left, right, and center. But anyway, let's not get into that. Think, why is this process taking so long? Why isn't Imran Khan issuing the notification? What's his problem in doing it now? Why isn't Bajwa pushing for the issuing of the notification? I can bet you he is. Right? That's what all these protests and all of that were about. But Imran Khan's spine has now been stiffened because certain army commanders have gone and told him that, buddy, just last out for the next 2-3 months till Bajwa's time is up, and then no extension can be legal after that. So just watch out till Bajwa's actual tenure ends. You'll see this constant, this managed, but it'll be like a pot boiler. It'll perpetually be on sim, where the milk comes to a boil, and
right.
you just have to keep the sim button at the exact amount that prevents it from boiling over.
Right.
Because look, a service extension of any general, any chief of army staff is extremely disruptive to the Pakistan army, because the Pakistan army is based on that social mobility it provides to everybody. The moment you remove that social mobility, you create a whole well of discontent below you. Now, they are a professional army, so they're not going to rebel against, they're not going to mutiny. They're not. But they will do it in smaller, more subtle ways that enables the social mobility afforded to them remains in play. And remember what's happened this week, not this week, day before yesterday, today's the 3rd, right? Second, yesterday morning, what happened was, Moody upgraded Pakistan's ratings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Moody had rated them as being negative, and they've now been rated as stable. stable outlook. So I think, well, I mean, I'm very optimistic about Pakistan. Let's put it that way. No, not that way. I'm not pessimistic about Pakistan. Let's put it that way.
Very, very, very slight nuance there. But Abhijit, so now that the 6 months extension has been given, can he now get the president's permission and give him the proper extension, or that should have been done before the 6-month extension kicked in? I'm a little bit, I have a few hair left on my head, and I'm afraid I'm going to lose them if I don't know the answer to this question.
I think we're all scratching our hairs on this one, because remember, if the Chief Justice of Pakistan wants to find a procedural lapse somewhere, he will find that procedural lapse. It's not, no amount of paperwork ultimately is going to sate him. The question is, what is the power balance within the corps commanders, and who is going to, proverbially grab the CGI's horns? And yeah, so it doesn't matter. The procedure here really doesn't matter. It's a sequence that matters.
Well, you've heard this from various hangouts about Pakistan. The daughters and sons of the generals of Pakistan don't study in Pakistan. They study in US and UK. Whereas the daughters and sons of generals in India, poor guys, are fighting it out in Delhi University and St. Stephen's. If some of them are lucky, by the sheer merit, they get into other schools, IITs and so on and so forth. So that is the big differentiate contrast for you. So when that gravy train stops, surely somebody is going to complain. And I think that's what we are seeing play out. Abhijit, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be back with more news on Pakistan very soon.
Thank you, Shri. Take care. Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.